Okay. So I'm really pleased to be joined here by Michael Booth. Michael was diagnosed with young onset Alzheimer's at the age of 46. Since his diagnosis, Michael has become involved with a number of different organisations to raise awareness of dementia and is passionate about changing the view of dementia and young onset dementia. Michael is a member of our Young Dementia Network Steering Group. And thank you, Michael, for joining us today. So during this webinar today, Dr. Bottomley is going to give us an overview of the young onset service that they have developed and how they provide support to people going through the process of diagnosis and the support beyond that diagnosis. So would you be able to tell us a little bit about your own experience of diagnosis?
Yeah, sure. My diagnosis started with, has to go back about 10 years ago with my mom. She was diagnosed with young onset dementia. At a later stages of her diagnosis, I was doing talking to the mental health team that were helping with my mom and the care, etc. And they noticed some of the signs. I was repeating questions, asking the same things, missing things that they'd said, etc. And so they had suggested that I go for a test. So if it wasn't for the vigilance of them, I'd probably still be struggling even today. The problem came in that even though they made recommendations to the GP and the neurologist, because of my age, being 46, actually it was about 44 and a half at the time, they didn't buy it. They just kept saying, you know, you're too young. It's not the case. It's not genetic. There must be stress, etc. So there was actually more of a ding-dong, an argument between the mental health services and the GPs and neurologists. And this went on for some time. Anyway, I did the MMSE, is it the MMSE test?
Yeah.
The memory and cognitive evaluation thing. And they found that a score of 64 was what I scored, showing that there was a problem. Even then, the GP said no. So I insisted on going for some scans. Mm-hmm. I went for a MRI scan first, and that was slightly inconclusive, though they said there is something not right. So from that, I then went to a PET scan, which, if anybody's had it will know, is quite a daunting thing where you're strapped down and told to not move for 10 minutes, not even your feet or your toe, or just, which is rather hard when you can't remember quite why you're there all the time. So it becomes a bit of a problem. Anyway, that was then what diagnosed me with young onset Alzheimer's, along with then another memory and cognitive test. So it was quite, even the feud was interesting to see between the medical services of how to go about diagnosing somebody with Alzheimer's or any other form of dementia. It was quite eye-opening. My mom's process took 3.5 years to diagnose, and that was just extremely frustrating trying to go through that with her. And then to see how medical staff some 10 years later had not changed their view.
You still had the same issues.
Was the same issues all over again. I just thought, I can't be tuned with this.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So it was just, eventually it was put your foot down. This is what I want, and this is what I would like to be done. At the worst case scenario, rule it out rather than rule it in if need be. But as it was, that was the diagnosis anyway.
So how do you think that experience could have been improved for you? I mean, you said there it's a lengthy experience, the difficulty at the beginning with the GP.
I think more understanding about the diagnosis process, specifically by various clinicians. I think that's really important. And to take advice from other clinicians at the same time is worthwhile doing. To understand as well the impact that it has on me. And then also the family and friends around it, because it's not just about me, it's about them as well. And more care and guidance. Once given the diagnosis, all I was given was a whole load of leaflets, no direction to support, nothing. fortunately for me, because of caring for my mom, I understood what
Yes.
was coming.
Yeah.
I understood the process. I had a lot of dealings with people such as yourselves, etc., with dementia. So I had a better understanding. But when we were dealing with my mom, we had nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for me doing research and trying to understand and follow, you get nothing.
Yeah.
And then to try and get help from social care and social services, you just seem to slip in the crack as young onset.
Yes.
You don't fit either side because of your age. So there was just problem after problem once you've got your diagnosis.
Yeah.
So I think better understanding and care, I think, is really important. Take age out of the equation.
Yeah.
From a medical point of view, it is really important. Don't just, you can't have it because you're too young.
Yeah, that's what needs to stop, so that people
Yeah.
recognize and raise the awareness that it's possible to have dementia at any age,
Yeah,
not just
it is.
a disease of the older people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what changes would you like to see in terms of the experience of diagnosis for people with young onset dementia and their family members too? As you said,
Yeah.
they are a key part of that diagnosis process.
The first thing I think needs to be done is, from a medical point of view, is to take age out of it, but also to recognize that young onset dementia, any type of dementia, is a disease in itself.
Yeah.
It comes with its own set of problems unique to anybody else who's diagnosed. And then I think to be more compassionate and understanding. One of the other problems that was always an issue is that it takes so long to get appointments.
Yes.
With a cancer diagnosis, you're given quicker appointments. It's set within a certain criteria set by the government.
Yeah.
I think that needs to be done for dementia and for other types of neurological diseases as well. So having quicker appointments and sticking to them. It's so frustrating. You get everything prepared and ready to go for an appointment, and then you get a phone call. Oh, it's been cancelled. It's going to be moved now to sometimes 6-7 months.
Yeah.
It took me over a year, I think it was a year and 3 months, to go see a neurologist just to confirm the whole diagnosis process. It's like, why does
just
it take?
waiting in that time? You can't.
Why does it take so long? And in the meantime, you've got your GP saying you're too young. You've got your friends and family not believing that there's something wrong. Some of them very supportive, others just disappear. Yeah. So all of those additional things that are thrown in the pot as well. So all of that needs to change. A better diagnosis delivery is very important.
Yeah.
Once you've given your diagnosis, get support. Be pointed in the right direction of where you can find that support, who you can go to as a point of contact. Access to a psychologist, I think, worked very well for me. Again, because I had the access to that team, I was able to get in and speak about things for me and for my wife, which was very important. We could talk things through. Having access to people who are diagnosed, or if you're a carer, having access to somebody going through the same thing, so that you can talk things through, I think is vitally important to see that, okay, you've been given the slap in the face of a diagnosis, but you can still continue with, you just got to learn to adapt. Speaking to people who do, or who can help you to show you how to adapt, not to get frustrated all the time when things you would take as bread and butter in your life, such as your speech or your remembering to drink. Just how to adapt to those and to see that it's okay. It's part of the process. There's no point trying to fight it, but you can deal with it. And I think those are things that I think are vitally important, just having access to those things. Yeah. But also then care and understanding from the clinicians of what you're going through.
Yeah. Giving that hope at the time of diagnosis. We keep hearing that word hope, but it is so important.
It is very important. But then showing where they can go to get that.
Yes,
and how to deal with it, because there's no point just saying, here's what you've got and then off you go. Yeah. It's just, that doesn't work.
Well, thank you. I think what you're doing, Michael, by sharing your experience and your advice and your knowledge is really, really important for us to hear today, and for everybody listening to the webinar to hear the experience you went through, and to the advice you can give us to help try and change that, improve that. It's really valuable to hear that. So thank you very much for sharing your experience.
Pleasure, Catherine, and thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.